Welcome back, everybody, to the I Am Passionate podcast. It's your host, Jaren, rocking the Ravens jersey because this is a video. No, I'm not using, my camera. I'm using, my computer. I'm in a Zoom call for a solo video. The next football episode, I'm going to try to bring some guests back on to have, my second football episode with guests. So, really, just before I kind of dive into, tonight's NFL action and or the future, just going to talk about a couple of last week's things. First being, my Bengals playing the Ravens. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I thought the Ravens were going to lose. The Ravens just came out so flat, and the Bengals were like, we're going to punch you in the mouth and we're just going to keep it going. We're going to keep it pushing. I really, I'm like, once it was halftime, I'm like, man. I'm like just the Bengals are just moving the ball so easily. And like, yes, the Ravens have the worst ranked pass defense, and that's mostly just because their run defense is so good. But yeah, I did not expect Jamar Chase to put up 260 yards. Like, yes, he plays well, against the Ravens. Like, I feel like last year, which correct me if I'm wrong, like he didn't play bad, but he didn't play 260 yards good. And plus, he set a record for the most receiving yards against a team in a season. That is insane. And also, I can see the reflection of my computer in my glasses. So we're gonna take these off, which, yeah, no, that is just crazy to me. That is just crazy. The Lions and Texans. That's the next one. The both teams did not want to win that game. I kid you not. Both teams did not want to. Jared Goff ruined his MVP campaign in one night. He had, before playing the Texans, he had four picks on the season. Now he has nine. Like, he was like, F it. Amon Ra's down there somewhere. But here's the thing. They still won the game. They still won. I don't get it. Like, that's basically a death sentence for teams to basically have that many turnovers and still win. It just shows that the Lions are a complete team. They ain't to be trifled with. They're not the same old Detroit Lions. They're some ballers. And then yeah, that Bears game, I'm very, very happy they fired Shane Waldron. And I'm wearing a Ravens jersey. I'm wearing a Lamar Jackson jersey. I just think that Shane Waldron was holding that offense back. And I hope, I don't know the name of I think he was the pass game coordinator who's not been promoted to offensive coordinator. I really hope that he'll be able to get the Bears offense rolling just because, I mean, they started at 4-2. They lost three straight. That Hail Mary hurt the Bears a lot, but I think that the Bears can still put up some good tape. I think the Bears can still fight to be, a 9-8 team. I think they can. I really do. I like Caleb Williams, like he's showing flashes, but that offensive line, man. And the thing is, with every fiber of my being, I do not think that Matt Ebert, like we will not see how good Caleb Williams can be unless Matt Eberflus is just canned. And the thing is, the Bears, I don't remember if there's been a time that they fired a head coach during the season. Like that's just not something that they do. And yeah, no, it's just crazy to think about. So I would be very surprised if Matt Eberflus has a job, even if he's somehow able to make it to 9-8 or even sneak in the playoffs, which I don't think the odds of them sneaking into the playoffs are very high. So, that's just that. I wanted to give a one quick bit thing about me, to also just I studied sport. I didn't study sports journalism. I studied journalism and communication with the goal of being, in sports journalism. Just because since I no longer play sports doesn't mean I can't make a life out of them. And, I see things, I believe Omar Raja, which if I'm mispronouncing that, I apologize. He used to own House of Highlights. Now he works at ESPN. It's a great story. There's a bunch of other people that I could name that I've been inspired by. And so, yeah, no, I want to bring some positivity in the world, and I believe sports is one way to do that. Like just even thinking back, this is college football, which I understand that I'm not primarily a college football sort of thing. Early in the college football season when NIU played Notre Dame, most people picked Notre Dame to win. And like I'm not the biggest college football fan, but NIU won Northern Illinois University, and they interviewed the coach after the game, and the coach was just emotional. He was very, very happy with all his players. Now, I don't know how their season has gone down after that, but that moment is still just on loop in my head. And so it's like he just was so happy, and like, the world was counting him and his team out. And so just to be able to have moments like those, that is my goal. So that's that. I'll probably have more of an episode with that little tidbit. I wanted to throw that in there just because I haven't been able to make, you know, the other kind of contents for episodes. And if there's anything that you guys would like to see me talk about, I understand that the podcast is called I Am Passionate and it's, focused on my interests. Or if there's something that you would like to talk about that you're passionate in, just let me know. Reach out. So I've got my notes here, which was where you'll see me look down from time to time. I'm going to try to break down these games with, good pace, try to fill this up because for Zoom, I can record up to 40 minutes. And so here we go. The Commanders versus Eagles, tonight's game, which I believe will be huge in their division, just because, like, yes, they still have to play each other twice, but essentially, whoever wins tonight's game, they'll control their own destiny. Now, off the top of my head, I know the Eagles still have to play the Ravens and the Steelers, two tough teams. Commanders, I'm not sure what their schedule is like. I know they already played the Giants twice. At this point in the year, I know that the Commanders will be able to beat the Cowboys twice because I don't think they've played yet either. So yeah, I'm pretty sure the Commanders are basically playing all their division games in the last month, just like the Bears, just like the Steelers. I think the Eagles are going to win this game. I think so because they are catching fire at the right time. I think the Eagles' run game is going to be too much for the Commanders. I think this game is going to play out very similarly to the Ravens and Commanders game, where the Commanders will have a chance to win, but it might be easier said than done. I think Saquon Barkley is going to have a great game. I think he's going to be the X factor, and not even just in the run game. And also, I am not 100% sure if Marshawn Lattimore is playing tonight. If he is, I expect him to follow AJ Brown a lot. And some other things that I had saw just from my social media presence is that the Commanders play a lot of man coverage. And Marshawn Lattimore, when he was on the Saints, essentially whenever he was in man coverage, he was the best rated corner in football. So I think that'll be huge. I think that'll make it a difference. I think they'll kind of lean on the run, especially if the Commanders secondary plays well. And also, regardless of the outcome of this game, the TikToker, I know he's got a Twitter. We'll just I don't like to throw the word influencer. I mean, if he is an influencer and that's what he describes himself as, so be it. But Janky Rondo, his TikToks are just so funny. He's so funny. Like he does all sorts of content, whether it be college football. I think that's his main thing. And his reactions where he like launches himself out of his chair. That's just so funny to me. And we will I think the Eagles will get this game, but I think this will be a good game. I think the last few Thursday night football games have been pretty good because I know last year Thursday night football was a snooze fest. It really, really was. So going on to Sunday's games, which all the games are pretty much from their normal noon to Sunday night football slot. There's no like, super early morning game. And also, before I get into those, that Carolina and Giants game, I'm happy for Bryce Young. Last few games he's been playing some good football. 2-game win streak for the Panthers. I hope that Bryce Young's able to continue playing well. It's because I mean, hey, he deserves it because he was not in the best situation. I've been saying that on this podcast since week one. So Raiders versus Miami. I'm going to take Miami to win this one. They have been playing better with Tua. They just came off a win against the Rams. I think Miami will be able to get this win. I don't really trust the Raiders for 4 quarters. Uh, even earlier in the season, at this point, I just think I think they're gonna try to creep back I think they're in the AFC East. Yeah, they're in the AFC East. I think they're gonna try to creep back in, but I think it's gonna be too little too late. Browns versus Saints. Give me the Saints. They ended their 7-game losing streak last week. Their head coach, don't remember his first name, but I know his last name is Rizzy. And so after the win, there's all the social media comments about Riz, blah, 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 blah. But I think the Saints, they're going to be able to play well against the Browns. I hope Alvin Kamara has a decent game, not just because I have him on fantasy, but I think if Alvin Kamara plays well, I think that it simplifies the game for the Saints. So the going on to the Colts and Jets. The Jets, their season's cooked. They're done. They're done. Like they should. Most people are gonna be like, "Oh, Jets, you should tank, get a better draft pick for Aaron Rodgers." No, just no. Like I don't know what you need to get the right coach to be there. Like I didn't think Robert Saleh was a bad coach. Clearly, just things did not work out in New York, you know. So I think the only way that you can save the Jets is if you get them, the right personnel grouping. And by personnel grouping, I more so mean the coaching. And also, Devontae Adams has just looked very like a shell of himself. He looked like a shell of himself. He really, really has. And I would not have gone to the Jets if I was him, just because I mean Aaron Rodgers, he's getting up there in age, for an athlete. What might have 3 years max of Aaron Rodgers before he gets to retire. And I don't know how old Devontae Adams is off the top of my head, but and even ignoring my clear and obvious bias aside, I would have liked him to go to the Ravens, but there are a couple other options. I'm just happy he didn't go to the Chiefs. I'll just leave that out there. Vikings and Titans. Give me the Vikings. The Vikings have been playing some sloppy football the last 2 weeks. They really, really have. But I think against the Titans, I think it'll be a weird game, but I think it'll be a decent game. I think the Vikings, they're going to be able to get back on track. They're going to get Justin Jefferson involved. He's going to have a decent game. Sam Darnold, his stats aren't going to, pop out at you. Like he's not going to throw for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. I think he'll probably throw for anywhere from 200 to 250. He might throw for 2 touchdowns. He might run in one. So I think he'll get 3 total touchdowns. So, and for the Titans, I believe I'd have to check the stat sheet again and also check at the tape again. But from what I did get to see, Will Levis played pretty decently. Like I understand that they didn't get the win, but they played pretty well. They played pretty well. Packers versus Bears. This is one of my games of the week. Now, I'm saying that as I've kind of been waiting for the Packers and Bears to meet up for the first time. And, the entire year, I kind of been saying to not just on this podcast, but to family members that I do think the Bears will split against the teams in their division. The only team they might not split against are the Packers. Now, you're probably thinking, Jaren, how the hell are the Bears going to win a game against the Lions? Jared Goff, from a historical standpoint, does not play well against the Bears. Now, I understand. History does not tell what'll happen in the present. By that, I mean, oh, Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions against the Texans last week. Doesn't mean that if they play tomorrow, he'll throw 5 more. Does not mean that at all. He could ball out and throw for 7 touchdowns. So, recent history, the Bears and Packers, like they've played in good games, but the Packers, we all know the narrative behind that. So, but because this game is in Soldier Field, I can honestly see the Packers winning, but I'm gonna pick the Bears because I do not see them going to Lambeau Field and beating the Packers. I see it if they are to get this split, it's in this game. Like they happen like I don't think it's in the Bears' best interest of going to the playoffs. I'm not saying tank. I think if they haven't gone on a 3-game win streak, then I think that you might have some good playoff aspirations. I think, they should just try to focus on putting some good games together, build Caleb Williams' confidence back up. Because some of the things also I've been seeing is that, apparently veteran players have been talking about, playing Tyson Bagent. But also I've been seeing some things that the Bears receiver, I believe his name is Tyler Scott, had said that that was fake news. So I'm staying in my lane. By that, I mean, I don't know if it's fake news. I obviously won't know until the end of the year if Caleb Williams is the Bears starter from pretty much today to the rest. But I do not think they should bench Caleb Williams. Because I feel like if you bench Caleb Williams, you're going to kill his confidence, and you're going to come back to him where it's like, if Tyson Bagent doesn't play well, okay, the Bears might be 4-8, and then you're going to go back to Caleb Williams, and then just you're not doing him any favors. I think letting him play out his rookie season, no matter how rough it might look at times, I think that's only going to have things look up from here. And plus, another thing to tell you, I'm going to say a few things about this quarterback, and I want you to guess who it is. Now, quarterback that I'm thinking of, he is a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's got two Super Bowl rings. Believe he has an MVP, but we'll focus on the two Super Bowl rings. Is a prolific passer, and during his time, he at one point had the most passing touchdowns and essentially passing yards, and he's played on two teams. And the last hint I'll give you is he often played against my Ravens. That's another hint. Give you a couple seconds. Oh, and the last hint I'll give you, he threw for the most interceptions as a rookie quarterback, and that record has not been broken in 30 years. Peyton Manning. I just described Peyton Manning. Now you're probably thinking, Jaren, how is he? He was the Colts quarterback and the Broncos quarterback. Played them often. Played them often, whether it was in the postseason or the regular season. Typically always matched up once a year, but that's beside the point. I think that NFL fans are just too quick to judge, and I understand that the NFL moves by very, very quickly. But I do think that you should give rookie quarterbacks at least until the end of their second season to be like, if you don't start showing me something soon, we're going to move on from you. Like, I don't know what his contract was off the top of my head, but I think you would be doing Caleb Williams and essentially your future a disservice by benching Caleb Williams. Because in my mind, you did not draft Caleb Williams just to bench him at some other point. And I get it. He was, scouted as a generational prospect. I just don't think benching him will help you and save your season at all. I think benching him only makes things worse. Next, Jags versus Lions. Give me the Lions. I think Jared Goff is going to get back on track. I think he's going to throw for a couple of touchdowns. He's going to play a clean game. Or the other thing is, I think he probably won't have to throw the ball that much because I believe David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, I believe they'll both have great games. So I would not be surprised if this game trends toward a blowout and eventually in the fourth quarter, if we see the Lions backups come in the game. Rams versus Patriots. This one, I mean, I feel like it's clear cut should be the Rams, but with how they just did not play well offensively last week, when I thought they were going to beat Miami. And which also, thinking of that, I got my notebook in front of me. I normally say how well I did the week before. So looking at last week, which I apologize for the weird transition, I'm going to count real quick. That's one, two, Um, three. That's three losses because the Bears lost last week. That's also potentially four because I don't remember off the top of my head because I'm filming this right now if I said Steelers versus Commanders. But actually, no, I'm pretty sure I said the Commanders. So that's four losses. That's four losses. The 49ers won, the Chiefs won, the Bills won, the Vikings won, the Chargers won, the Cardinals won, the Eagles won, the Lions won. So I was 8-4. Oh wait, actually, I forgot I had the Ravens game, so that's 9-4. I was 9-5 last week. 9-5. Was the Giants and Panthers last week. So apologize for throwing in that last week sort of content. We're going to focus on what I think should be the Sunday night football game, and that's the Ravens versus Steelers. Now, I cannot tell you how many times I see online or people in my personal life saying, "Oh, the Ravens are going to beat the Steelers." And I'm like, I don't know, man. The Ravens Steelers games are always close, and the Steelers just always seem to get the best of the Ravens since Lamar Jackson has been there. Lamar Jackson is 1-2 as a starter against the Steelers. And ah, this game is in Pittsburgh, which I think does go to the Steelers' favor. I'm still going to pick my Ravens to win the game. I think Lamar Jackson's playing out of this world. I think Russell Wilson, the Steelers quarterback, will be able to do some good things, against the Ravens defense. My thing is this. I honestly think whoever wins this game, it'll be the team who has the ball last. Whether they kick off a game-winning field goal or they get a last second touchdown. Whoever wins this game, it'll be a last second score. So give me the Ravens, and I'm gonna say that this game will be decided by less than 3 points. But in general, I would not be surprised if the game went either way. And no, I'm not just saying that because my brother's a Steelers fan. And the thing is, I guarantee you, Cam, when you listen to this, you're probably gonna say something like, "Oh man, the Ravens are gonna win." Do you want to know when the last time Lamar Jackson, and I understand Lamar Jackson had injuries a few years back, but the last time, also, knock on wood, knock on wood, knock on wood, the last time that Lamar Jackson beat the Steelers, it was his MVP year, 2019. So taking out some of the time from injuries, he hasn't beaten them in essentially 5 years. Okay, so Seattle versus the 49ers. Give me the 49ers. Ironically, I was just saying with Kevin last night that can't tell if the 49ers are really good or if they're just mid. I think Seattle is just, they've had such an up and down season. I think the 49ers will be able to take this win. Maybe a good game at the start. The 49ers will pull away in the second half. Give me Brock Purdy playing well. Um, Falcons versus Broncos. Give me the Falcons. The Broncos have been playing some great football. I understand 2 weeks ago they got beat badly by the Ravens. Last week they pretty much took it to the Kansas City. I wanted them to win. I really, really did. But I think they've been playing some decent football. I think that this can be a shocker. I think the Broncos need this win because essentially they might be fighting against the Bengals for that last AFC playoff spot. Because I believe at the moment the Broncos are the seventh seed. Correct me if I'm wrong. Chiefs versus the Bills. On my sheet of paper that I'm looking at, I wrote Bills, please, in all caps. Bills, please win this game. Please. They are my pick to win. And I think this is the first time all year I've gone against the Chiefs. I think it actually is. I'm gonna go back and double check that myself. But I am not a hater. Like, I'll put it like this. If the Ravens don't go to the Super Bowl, as long as it's not Kansas City, I want to see new teams win. Like if Kansas City does go to the Super Bowl, if they play against the Lions, I'm rooting for the Lions all day. I'm rooting for the Lions all day. I'm rooting for the Eagles all day. I'm rooting for the Vikings all day. Any team that comes out of the NFC, I'm rooting for them. I just want to see a new team get their flowers. I don't want to see a bunch of great quarterbacks go without a ring or only just get like one ring. I don't want to see Lamar Jackson retire. I hope he gets more than one. I want to see him get more than one. I don't want Patrick Mahomes to, you know, be that Tom Brady and keep a lot of, great quarterbacks from winning a ring. Even though they're in the division, I don't want to see Joe Burrow, like that's his only Super Bowl appearance. Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, the hypothetical king. That's an inside joke, by the way. That's just a few. That's just a few. So ultimately, all I want is a good game for it because, like, this is another game that could be flexed to the Sunday Night Football spot, and also it does have huge implications in the AFC playoff race. It does. Now, I understand the Bills are 8-2, I believe, and the Chiefs are 9-0. It does have pretty big implications because if let's say the Bills win and they're able to let's just say they go on a crazy streak but the Chiefs lose a couple games, the Chiefs won't be the number one seed. And also the crazy thing is, I hope the Bills win because if the Kansas City loses a couple of games and the Ravens catch some fire, it might help leave the door open for the Ravens getting the one seed. So a little bit of bias in the seeding aspects, but I have that mix of bias and hater in there. I'm not a full-blown hater. So now the actual Sunday Night Football game, the Bengals versus Chargers. I do think this would be a good game. I just think that there's so many other games that you can put into this slot and would make for better football. But give me the Bengals. I believe the Bengals are going to come playing pissed off. Jamar Chase is going to have a great game. And also, Cincinnati, you made a mistake not paying that man sooner. Because whatever you would have had to pay him earlier, you might have to pay him way more now. He's leading the league in receptions, yards, and touchdowns as a receiver. Yeah, that's a capital BAG if I ever seen one. He's gonna be like Mr. Krabs saying money, 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 money. Give me the Bengals to win this one. I believe it can go down to the wire, but I think it'll be tough. Tough on both ends. Texans versus Cowboys. I don't have much to say because the Cowboys are so beat up. Give me the Texans. My biggest concern with the Cowboys is I'm wondering if we will see Trey Lance because Cooper Rush did not look very good against the Eagles. Um, yeah, I'm just wondering if we'll see Trey Lance. Will he get a shot, to play and be a consistent starter? We will see. We will see. But we've reached the end of these picks, and also if you keep playing well, Lamar Jackson, I think you can get your third MVP. But I know probably the Super Bowl trophy means way more to you than winning MVP. But I just want to thank you so much for listening to this week's podcast. I'm your host, Jaren Smith, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.